Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today's deck is going to focus on the Noivern from the Furious Fist set. So this is the one with the Echolocation ability. Echolocation is a pretty nice ability. It could allow the Noivern to survive for quite a bit of time. I've encountered a couple of Noivern decks myself and they seem incredibly difficult to deal with once they are ultimately up and running. And thanks to the Roaring Skies set release, with the Double Dragon Energy Noivern is more efficient than ever before. And Noivern in its own is not all that impressive of a Pokemon. I mean, Boom Burst only hits for 30 damage to each of our opponent's Pokemon, so that's not a whole lot. But what we're really banking on is avoiding all damage from our opponents really being able to hurt our Noivern. So how we're going to do that is that, first of all, Echolocation is going to give the opponent a 50% probability of being able to attack the Noivern. So that's pretty high. We'd like to lower that a little bit. So how we're going to do that is we're going to be running the Noivern in combination with the Amoonguss from the next Destiny set. So I do want you guys to just keep in mind that this is an expanded deck. It had been a while since I've taken a look at any expanded deck. So hopefully some of you guys will be thankful that I have released this video. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this video nonetheless. I do apologize that it's not a standard format video. But anyways, what the Amoonguss has is the Spore Prize ability. So this is whenever we evolve the Fungus into the Amoonguss. However, we can only do it by evolving the Fungus into an Amoonguss from our hand. So that's something to keep in mind. So we can't really use cards such as the Wally or the Eva Soda to make the Spore Prize ability work. Anyways, going on, guys. So whenever we evolve the Fungus into the Amoonguss, we are able to put our opponent's active Pokemon in a confused and poisoned state. Now, immediately, you guys are thinking of some ways that this doesn't seem like all that feasible of a strategy. Mainly, those ways are the Vrisian EX and the Keldeo EX, which really negate all of the Amoonguss's potency. And that is something that I have taken into effect, guys. So we are running a total of 3 copies of the Silent Lab. This will shut down Keldeo EX, Keldeo EX's special ability, the Vrisian EX's special ability, and of course the Mr. Mime special ability as well. We don't want its bench barrier to prevent all damage being done to our opponent's Pokemon by the Noivern. So I have taken that into account, so we are running a total of 3 copies of the Silent Lab. Anyways, going back to the Amoonguss, guys, with the Spore Prize, now that our opponent's active Pokemon is going to have to go both through the Echolocation and the Confusion state, that's when the Noivern is going to start looking like a very menacing Pokemon. Again, one of the shortfalls of this deck is that the opponent could very easily simply retreat his active Pokemon and then bring out a bench Pokemon. Of course, that is something that we have to take into effect when building this sort of deck. So we are running a total of 2 copies of the Dragalge. Whenever our opponent's active Pokemon happens to be poisoned, Poison Barrier is going to prevent our opponent's active Pokemon from being able to retreat. Of course, provided that they happen to be poisoned. So Dragalge is another very important Pokemon in our deck. We are running 2 copies of him. And yeah, so that's pretty much all the Pokemon. I really wanted to make room for Mr. Mime in our deck as well, guys, because we have some relatively low HP non-EX Pokemon. However, of course, we are running Silent Lab, so I didn't think like it was all that wise of an option. Again, I wanted to run Hydreigon EX, but we couldn't really make it work. The very last stadium card that we are running in our deck, guys, is the Burbank City Gym. We're running a single copy of it. I just felt like it was nice to have a little bit of variability. I mean, with respects to certain decks we may encounter, Silent Lab is probably not going to be all that useful. Such as, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of decks out there that don't have, for example, Keldeo EX, Vrisian EX, things like that. So Burbank City Gym may be the better option with respects to certain situations, just allowing us to stack some additional damage counters in between turns. So we're running a single copy of the Burbank City Gym. If you guys think like it's not all that worthwhile of a stadium card, please feel free to scrap it out, but in our case, we are running a single copy. We're running the Scoop Up Cyclone as the A-Spec card. A little bit unusual, but we are using it to try and recycle the Amoongusses, put them back into our hand, and hopefully we can evolve them over and over again, stacking those, placing those Confusion and Poison states on the opponent's active Pokemon. So, Scoop Up Cyclone is, I think, the way to go. Computer Search could be another very solid option, but we are going to be sticking with the Scoop Up Cyclone. We're also running a total of 4 copies of the Super Scoop Up. Again, does the exact same thing as the Scoop Up Cyclone. However, there is a flip coin requirement to this trainer card. That's, of course, why it's not an A-Spec card. So, yeah, so we're just running a total of 4 Super Scoop Ups. Again, the basic idea behind this card is that we'd like to be able to reuse the Amoonguss's Spore Prize ability whenever we can. So we are running 4 copies of this. The other cards in our deck are pretty self-explanatory, guys. So I'm going to be going through them very quickly. But first of all, let's go and discuss the Evosoda very briefly. We're running a whole ton of evolution type Pokemon. Again, just keep in mind that Evosoda will not allow us to make that Spore Prize ability work. But nonetheless, it will allow us to try and grab onto the evolution Pokemon that we need, such as the Noiverns and the Dragalge. So we are running a single copy of this, and we're also running a single copy of the Wally. Wally pretty much works like the Evosoda, however, we are able to evolve a Pokemon the very first turn that we decided to bring it out. It also counts as our supporter for the turn, so it should be used wisely as opposed to a draw supporter, for example. So we have a little bit of variability with respect to whether we'd like to use this, or for example, the N, Juniper, something like that. So we are running a single copy of the Wally. Now, the other cards in our deck, guys, are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to be going through them relatively quickly. We're running a single copy of the Starling Megaphone. Again, this is mainly to allow us to deal with those Garbodor-type decks. 4 Ultra Balls to allow us to grab onto any of the Pokemon that we need. 2 VS Seekers, allowing us to reuse our supporter-type cards. A total of 9 draw supporters. 1 of them are the Colress, 4 of them are the Ants, and 4 of them are the Junipers. A single Lysander to lure out any of our opponent's bench Pokemon. 1 Lysander's Trump card, allowing us to reuse the cards in our deck. A single Teammates card, in case any of our Pokemon do happen to get knocked out, we are able to look for any 2 cards in our deck. And a total of 10 energy cards. 4 of them are the Double Dragon Energy, 3 of them are the Psychic Energy, and 3 of them are the Darkness Energy. So with that, guys, we are going to go and find ourselves an opponent. This deck should work quite nicely. I've only played very, very few games with it, but I feel like it is ready to showcase to you guys. Again, this is an expanded deck. I felt like it had been a while, so looks like we're going to be facing some sort of fighting type deck. I'm going to take a guess and say that it's probably going to be the Primal Groudon EX, but I could be wrong. Alright, so we're seeing a whole ton of balls, the Ultra Balls, the Level Ball, things like that. Alright, so it looks like we're going to start off with the Noibat. Could be a positive start. We are seeing the Terrakion EX, the Hypnotoxic Laser. Alright, so maybe Burbank City Gym is not all that wise of a card for us to play. I think I'm gonna go and use the Juniper, guys. We are discarding a whole ton of useful cards in our hand, but otherwise we may just take a turn 1 loss, just because Rock Tumble is not affected by resistance. So yeah, I think using the Juniper is probably the way to go, guys. Looks like we're gonna have to discard a whole ton of useful cards, but unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. Alright, so I'm gonna go and use the Ultra Ball to discard a Silent Lab from our hand and an N from our hand as well. I think I'm gonna go and look for another Noibat, guys. I mean, we should be able to prevent our opponent's Terrakion EX from knocking out our Noibat if we manage to bring it back into our hand. So let's go and use the Super Scoop Up, and we're gonna flip the tails. Let's go and use that Scoop Up cycle and bring that Noibat back into our hand. Really hoping that our opponent does not pull out a Strong Energy or a Muscle Band. Really hoping for our Noibats to be able to, at the very least, survive a single turn. And then unfortunately with that, we're gonna go and end the turn. I'm not gonna go and lay down the Silent Lab just yet. And looks like, of course, the opponent is going to be able to bring out both a Strong Energy and the Muscle Band as well. Okay, so that's not great for us by any means. Looks like the Noibat is going to come out. Awesome, looks like we're going to be able to draw onto the Noivern. Let's go and bring it out. I'm going to go and attach a Double Dragon Energy to it. Hopefully our opponent's Terrakion will not be able to knock out our Noivern just yet. Really hoping that they flip the tails when attacking through the echolocation. And again, I have to use the Juniper one more time, guys. Alright, so let's go and bring out the Strap onto the bench and the Amoonguss as well. And yeah, so unfortunately with that, guys, I'm going to have to go and end the turn. Hopefully we should be able to start attacking. And really hoping that the opponent does not knock out the Noivern just yet. Looks like we're seeing a Machoke coming out. And possibly the opponent is just going to end off their turn by attacking. Pump Up Smash could potentially knock out the Noivern if the opponent manages to flip the tails. Really hoping that that's not the case. Hopefully we can bring out the Amoonguss, put the opponent in the confused state. And awesome, looks like we're going to get the tails. Oh no, sorry, not awesome. Looks like the opponent is going to get the tails, which is precisely what he wanted. Alright, so let's go and bring out the Amoonguss, guys. Very, very poor start for us right now. I'll definitely be using the VS Seeker to look for the Juniper. Yeah, I think Juniper is probably the better option. Alright, so let's go and use that Ultra Ball to discard the Silent Lab and the Double Colors Energy. Sorry, I'm just thinking, guys. I mean, No, let's actually go and get rid of the Ultra Ball from our hand and the Psychic Energy card or the Double Colors Energy. Yeah, let's go and get rid of the Psychic Energy card. I mean, unfortunately, I'm going to be discarding my hand anyways. Let's go and bring out an Amoonguss, guys. And my goodness, we only have a single Amoonguss. How many do we have in the discard pile? Okay, so we have 2 of our Amoongusses in the discard pile. Hopefully we can draw onto a Lysander's trump card eventually, but alright, let's go and stick with the Amoonguss for the time being. Put the opponent in the confused and paralyzed, confused and poisoned state. Lay down the Silent Lab. And we're gonna go and use the VS Seeker to look for the Professor Juniper and look for some new cards in our hand. Also, looks like we have the Dragalge, so at the very least our opponent's Terrakioniacs will not be able to retreat. Let's go and bring out the Nutter Scrub onto the bench as well. And let's go and use the Super Scoop Up, really hoping for the heads. Awesome, looks like we're going to get it. Let's bring that Amoonguss back into our hand. Bring out a Scrub temporarily. Lay down an Amoonguss onto our bench and attach a Psychic Energy card to the Noibat and then end the turn. Hopefully we can finally start dishing out some actual damage. By bringing out our Noivern during the next turn, the opponent is going to use the Hypnotoxic Laser and flip the heads. The colors as well. Fighting Stadium card. And if the Terrakioniacs does try to attack, and Awesome looks like the opponent is going to flip the tails and hit himself for some damage. So that's quite nice. Let's go and lay down another Fungus, guys, onto our bench. Bring out the Noivern, attach the Double Dragon Energy to it, and then we have to go and end the turn. Again, I don't want to evolve into the Amoonguss just yet, just because it happens to be the very last one. And of course, our opponent's Pokemon already happens to be in the confused and the paralyzed state. Now, if the opponent is unable to retreat without the usage of a switch card or something like that, then that Terrakioniacs is just going to keep accumulating damage. Awesome, looks like the opponent is going to use a Lysander's Trap card. I feel like it's going to help us out a whole lot more than it will help out the opponent. Another Tails on the opponent's head. So that damage is starting to add up. I could use the Wally to bring out another Dragalge. You know what? I think I'm going to go and do that, guys. I don't want our Scrub to get knocked out. So let's go and bring out a Dragalge. And yeah, so unfortunately with that, guys, we have to go and end the turn again. The Terrakioniacs is very slowly starting to build up those damage counters, and it should be getting knocked out relatively soon. If he happens to flip the heads, he will be able to knock out the Dragalge. Again, another Tails. My goodness, our opponent is getting extremely unlucky. If he thinks that this is bad, then he hasn't even seen the Noivern come out just yet. I don't think I'm going to go and lay down another Fungus, guys. I'd like to save that slot open for another one of our Noiverns. So hopefully we should be able to draw onto another one of those eventually. Hypnotoxic Laser, the opponent is going to flip the tails. And I think that's going to help us out a lot more. And okay, no, it looks like the opponent is going to use the Scoop Up Cycle and bring that Terrakion back into their hand and hit that big knockout on the Dragalge. Alright, so let's go and bring out the Noivern, guys. And hopefully we can start teaching our opponent a bit of a lesson as well. Again, Evo Soda, not exactly the greatest card right now, just because it won't kick our Fungus's special ability into play. Our other cards are not really all that useful either, guys, so I think I'm just going to go and use the N, really hoping to be able to draw into an Ultra Ball or a Amoonguss. And awesome, looks like we do have an Ultra Ball at hand. Let's go and lay down a Noibat. I'm going to go and get rid of the Fungus in our hand. And the Lysander, should I get rid of the Lysander? Yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to go and get rid of the Lysander, guys. I mean, I don't really need to get rid of that Fighting Stadium card. We're not running any EX Pokemon. You know what, let's go and get rid of the Silent Lab, guys. I don't think our opponent is running any basic Pokemon that have any special abilities anyway, so let's go and get rid of that. Bring out an Amoonguss, and then put that active Lucario EX in a confused and poisoned state, and then let's start dishing out some damage to every single one of our opponent's Pokemon. Alright, so now that Lucario EX is going to have a very difficult time trying to attack the Noivern, again, just because it has to go both through the Echolocation and the Confusion. We're seeing a Rare Candy, another Machamp, and an N coming out on the opponent's hand as well. Awesome, looks like we have another Noivern, guys. I'll definitely be laying that down. We have another Amoonguss in our hand as well. So I think I'm going to be a little bit reluctant with respects to using the Juniper card from our hand. So let's go and bring out another Noivern. I'm going to go and attach the Double Dragon Energy to him. I'm going to go and use the Super Scoop Up, try and bring that Amoonguss back into our hand. Looks like we're going to flip the tails. Let's go and use the Boom Burst attack. I think from here on out, the opponent is probably not really going to be able to damage our Noivern with any damage whatsoever. Again, just because he has to get incredibly lucky to flip first a head and then the tails. Alright, so it looks like the opponent's first flip coin is going to be a heads, second one is going to be a heads, so 0 damage to the Noivern. As you guys can see, the annoyance is probably going to start ticking off our opponent. Let's go and attach the Darkness Energy card to the Noivern, and then hit every single one of our opponent's Pokemon for a whole ton of damage once again. Again, Noivern's strong suit is definitely not the fact that it can hit a lot of damage. I mean, normally it can only hit a lot of damage, of course, if our opponent is running a whole ton of Pokemon, which in this case he happens to have a fully loaded bench. So that works out quite nicely to our favor. And okay, so again, we're going to be able to avoid the damage. But of course, the strong suit of the Noivern, I would say, is definitely the fact that it has the echolocation ability. Alright, so let's go and put that Terrakion EX in a confused and poisoned state. And then we're going to go and use the Colorist for some new cards in our hand. We have the Super Scoop Up. Let's go and use it and hope for the heads. Awesome, looks like we're going to get it. And the opponent is going to Rage Quit. That's probably something you guys are going to encounter quite a bit. I feel like you guys had a pretty good idea of what this deck is capable of. Again, you guys are going to get a whole ton of Rage Quit. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And I will see you guys next time.